Hello, and welcome back to Guided Souls. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm so excited to be back here for another week with you guys. This week, we are talking about how that one person from high school is holding you back. And not literally, that's not like the whole concept of the episode specifically, but it is this idea of people's perceptions or opinions of what we're doing holding us back from actually doing what we want to do and what we're meant to do. And in particular, people that we are not even close with anymore. Maybe we don't talk to them, but they still follow us on social media. So it's like that little voice in the back of your head that's saying, oh, don't post that because so and so might see it. And oh, if you started that account and someone found it, like what would they think? Those types of things are the exact things that are holding us back. And they seem so small. They honestly seem insignificant, but not only does it often keep us from doing the thing that we're meant to do, but it also keeps us small energetically, and it showcases to the universe that we are embarrassed or ashamed of who we are and what we want and the gifts that we have. And why would the universe give us more opportunities regarding those gifts and being authentic to who we are if we are showing them that we are not embracing who we are and owning who we are, and we're embarrassed of who we are? So it's more than just the action. It's also about the energetic blueprint that you are sending out to yourself, the people around you, but also the universe as a whole. And my original topic for this week was going to be taking a look back at the past year and some of the lessons I've learned, because tomorrow, from the time that I'm posting this, is my 1 year TikTok anniversary of when I started posting on TikTok about spirituality. And it's not when I started posting on TikTok for the first time, because there were two other accounts that I had that I tried and failed at. Both were more surrounding self-love, and I just needed to push myself further to go into not only spirituality, but then mediumship, and talking about connecting with past loved ones. So that journey started on August 29th of 2023. So I wanted to take a look back at, how far I've come, all the lessons that I've learned, all the things that I've overcome. But in doing that, one of the lessons that I was, contemplating was this idea of, allowing yourself to show up and be seen, and to not let other people's opinions of you hold you back. And I realized, I'm still very much still doing that. And I think I've known this on a subconscious level, but I didn't realize how big of an impact it was having both on my external abundance and opportunities and things that can come in for me, but also, again, just my energy, what I'm signaling to myself and to the universe. So in case you're new here and you don't know, I post past loved one readings, psychic readings on TikTok, and have grown a decent following over the past year, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. There have been lots of ups and downs, but I could not be more happy and grateful about going down this journey and all of the things that it has opened up for me, both within my soul and out in the world around me. And I also started a crystal business, which was a huge accomplishment. And I actually just finished the migration of, my crystals from one website provider to another, which was a big accomplishment. But there's this one area that's hanging out there that I know could be so much more successful than it is. And I just have not been willing to show up fully how I am with my gifts. And I'm leaving so much on the table because of that. And I'm aware of that now. But I don't want to post my channeled messages on Instagram. And I know that that sounds silly, and especially if you don't have a job or a career in social media, you might not understand it, and you might be like, Well, you post on TikTok and you're really honest on your podcast and on YouTube. Like, what's the difference with Instagram? The difference is no matter how hard I try, and I've tried this in the past, I gave up, but I would start like an Instagram account and take all these precautions to not have it be connected to my personal account. But it didn't matter because I was accessing it from the same phone or computer. And so Instagram, Facebook would suggest my account to people that I know on my personal account. And that actually kept me from having a professional Instagram for so long because I was so embarrassed and didn't want anyone to know that I was doing this. And in terms of like my TikTok journey, I don't know, it just feels much more like the Wild West, and you don't have to connect any of your contacts if you don't want to. It's not like connected to Facebook in any way. And the odds that someone was just going to stumble across my account that knew me were low. Not zero, because my best friend actually stumbled across it and was upset with me for not telling her about it, which I totally understand. But it just felt like a much safer place to experiment and fail and show up as who I wanted to be. And, but even that, like only for the first, I'd say for the first 4 months, my husband was the only person that knew that I was doing this in my life. And then I finally worked up the courage to tell my family at the beginning of this year, had an amazing response from them. They were so loving and supportive. But then it took me another 4 months to tell friends and extended family and like put it out there on my social media that like, hey, I'm doing this thing. So it took me 8 months from the time that I started posting on TikTok about spirituality and giving channeled messages to actually be okay with people in my life outside of my immediate family knowing that I was doing that. But the thing is, a lot of those people don't have TikTok, or if they do, it's like they have to go searching for me. It's not like they're being suggested my account all the time. And so while they might know kind of conceptually that this is what I'm doing, they don't see my channeled messages. They don't see me giving past loved one readings. And there's just something so like scary to me about some random person from high school who I do not talk to, who like in all reality, I don't really care about their opinion that much logically. But on a subconscious level, I'm like, oh, I don't want them to see that. That would be so embarrassing. And so I didn't have an Instagram for a long time for my business for that reason. But once I started selling crystals, I was like, well, you can literally sell through Instagram and Facebook. So I would be doing myself a disservice not to have an Instagram or a Facebook for this account, especially because like I already have a good social media following and I know that that's something that I'm decent at, but I've kept what I talk about on my Instagram, what I choose to post. It's very curated. It is about crystals, mainly the different crystals that I have. Sometimes my podcast, sometimes some like funny memes. I have posted like a couple tarot readings here and there, but nothing to the extent of like what I post on TikTok, which is clearly what I'm really good at, clearly what people get excited about. And I know that if I allowed myself to show up like that on Instagram, it would be super helpful to me, not only from a business perspective, but just like energetically embracing who I am. And, you know, just having to get over the fact that someone not only might, but like will be suggested my account, because on my business account, I get suggested to follow people from my high school. Like it knows that it's connected to my personal account. So even if I take all the precautions to separate the two, because I'm using it from the same phone, I will get those suggestions. So I know that people who follow my personal account are getting my business account as a suggested account for them to follow. And that terrifies me. And it has absolutely held me back in terms of, showing up as I am and really being my authentic self, which is the only way that any of us will actually ever be successful, happy, and fulfilled all at one time. Like, in order to have all three of those things, we have to show up as our authentic selves and share with the world the gifts that we are meant to share. And our human ego brains don't get to choose what gifts those are. And so if you had asked me a year ago what my ideal gift to share with the world would be, it would not have been mediumship. It would not have been spirituality or channeled messages or even crystals. I wouldn't have wanted to have that be my thing in any way, shape, or form. And in a lot of ways, I've spent the past year running away from that and then coming back and accepting it. But it's like, for some reason, this is this life path that my soul chose. I need to honor that. These are the gifts that I have. These are the gifts that I meant to share the world. And things will not line up for me in the way that they are meant to until I fully embrace that in every area of my life. And even though like something as silly as doing that on Instagram like seems small, for me personally, it's like such a bigger representation of having other people's opinions and perceptions of me hold me back. And it's just so, I think we all come to this world with specific lessons, maybe from past lives that we want to learn, or, specific ways that our souls want to grow. And for some reason, one of mine, and maybe probably a lot of people's, is just like, I want to overcome this need of having control over what people think about me and how I am perceived. Like, it is so important to my ego to be perceived as someone who is successful, independent, has it all together. I don't want to ever be perceived as like a weirdo or someone who, is delusional in what they're pursuing, or someone who's a failure at life. Like, those things would terrify me if someone thought them about me. But we have zero control over what people think of us. And we can try to curate the information that we are putting out into the world, the signal that we're putting out into the world, the imprint that we're putting out on social media as much as humanly possible. And we still don't get to have any control over how another person is perceiving that. And so I think we do all these things to give us a sense of security of, oh, well, if this is the certain image that I'm presenting, then people are going to think of me this way. And if I don't let people see this side of me, then it'll keep people from thinking of me in this negative way that I don't want them to see me in. But it's a false sense of control. It's not true. We don't have any control. And so all we're doing is keeping ourselves small and miserable while also not achieving our goal of being able to control what people think about us. And I think a huge factor to me in being like comfortable with sharing this piece of my life with people is I just want to feel successful before I share it with people. And so in my head, I have like a certain number of followers or monthly income or notoriety, something like that, that would make me feel like, okay, I'm successful enough where this isn't embarrassing for me to share this. But I'm so proud of the faith that I have, the courage that I have of putting myself out there and giving this my all, like not really having the proof yet that this is going to be a super successful life path for me. Like, yes, I definitely have some starting indicators that this is a good direction for me, and I have had some success. But like, I'm proud of the fact that I keep going because I'm so confident that I, have this strong intuition that's leading me in the direction that I'm meant to go. So why would it be embarrassing to put myself out there and to be seen like that before I'm successful by society's measures, when in my own mind and in my heart, I'm so proud of the work that I'm doing and the courage that I have to put it out there in the way that I'm putting it out there. And I think if we really started to look at all of the things that we do in our lives, both from, a day-to-day standpoint, but also like the bigger life things, we could see how much we have accomplished and just how successful we really are. Like, I don't need to go through and name all of the things that I've been successful at, but there's a lot of seemingly small things that add up. I moved to a brand new city and formed a life here and made friends and found a new hobby. I started this business that I'm really proud of, and I was able to get that off the ground, which was a lot of work and not easy. And I didn't have anyone holding my hand doing it. And, yes, there were so many people from above, and then, also family and friends, once I was able to let them in, that helped me. But like, I had the courage to do that in the first place, and I did it, and no one can take that away from me. And so I think if we were to really look at all of the things that we've overcome and accomplished, and not just looked at, okay, what would society deem as successful, we would see how successful we truly are. And then when you look at that kind of track record that you have, it's like, how could you think that anything other than you being successful in the future would happen? And, I think when it comes down to it, in terms of, wanting to be comfortable with how other people see us, or allowing ourselves to be seen as we are by other people, and like relinquishing control over how they see us, because that's the thing, is even though we are maybe showing up authentically, how we're showing up might be misunderstood, might be misconstrued. And that is a really hard pill to swallow, that you could be showing up as your authentic self and someone could totally misunderstand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to put out there. But we don't have any control over that. And so I think part of what our ego brains need to come to terms with is being okay with having other people grieve the loss of our old selves in order to make space for this new, beautiful, more authentic version of ourselves. Because when you've shown up in the world one way for most of your life, and then you decide to change that in a way that's more authentic to you, that might be shocking to people. That might be surprising to people. That might be something that they didn't see coming, and they might have some sort of reaction to it. Now, are they actually going to grieve and be sad? Maybe not, but they might send something to their friend, or, talk about you behind your back, or even just think something that you wouldn't necessarily want them to think, but you're the one that's changing the script. And that's okay, and you're brave for doing that. But you have to give the rest of the world a little bit of time to adjust to that new version of you. And they will. And they will start to see this new version as the real you, because they will see how authentically it's showing through. But you can't control that initial reaction that they're going to have. And you just kind of have to accept that that is a part of life, that when we transform, when we adjust, the rest of the world will also go through this transformative changing period in order to meet us where we're at now. And I also have this theory that what we're doing is never actually that shocking to other people than we think it's going to be. Like, if you had told me a year and a half ago that I would be sitting here on a podcast about spirituality, selling crystals, and having, a TikTok account where I give mediumship readings, I would have told you you're crazy. But I couldn't see that that was within me. And so what I think is that now that I'm doing that, now that I'm actually expressing this truer version of me, other people can see that, and maybe they didn't see it coming. But I have a feeling that when people actually see me in my element, in my environment, doing the work that I do, it's not actually that surprising. And there's something that our souls are able to recognize in another soul when they are in the full embodiment and alignment of who they're meant to be, in a way where we just go, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that this person is doing it. And not everyone will see that. Not everyone is so in line with you that they are able to see into your soul. But the people who know and love you and care about you probably will not be that surprised by this big, huge, shocking thing that you are contemplating going out on a limb and doing, but you're too afraid to do it. And I think a past version of me would have said, when you think about that person from high school and what would they think if they saw this? How cringy would that be? I would have said, just say, who cares? Who cares what that person thinks? They don't matter in the story of your life. But I think I'm seeing it differently right now, where it's like, I almost think it's more powerful to realize and to tell yourself, whether it's true or not, that person will probably see what I'm putting out there. I have no control over how they react to it, but I feel confident and proud in the work that I am putting out there, in the gifts that I'm putting out there. And even if you're not confident in that yet, I'm just proud that I'm brave enough to put myself out there, that I'm at peace with whatever this person chooses to think about this action that I'm doing. Because we can't change the fact that people are going to think things about us. We can't change that people will have opinions. Will they actually care? Probably not. But will that stop the initial 2 to 5 second reaction that they have, where they give that judgment that you're afraid that they'll give? No. Human beings are judgmental by nature. It's going to happen. And so I think instead of saying, I don't care about that person's opinion, it doesn't matter, it's more about, I understand that that person will likely have an opinion on this, and I am at peace with whatever opinion they come to, because I know that I am showing up in a way that feels so authentic and loving to me. I know my intentions. I know why I'm doing this. And I feel really good about that. And I also think it's just a really beautiful opportunity to practice the person that you want to be. Practice the type of person that doesn't let what other people will think of them impact the actions that they are taking. Be the type of person that chooses to show up authentically no matter what. Be the type of person that feels afraid but decides to do it anyways. Be the type of person that has the courage to show up and be seen by the world. And I'm not saying it's easy. Obviously, it's not. If it took me 8 months to tell people that I'm doing this, and I'm still having reservations about putting it out there on Instagram, but there is a version of your soul that is just so beautifully free when you do this, that it's like you wonder how you didn't do it sooner. And it feels scary at first, but when you get to the other side of it, when people stop having that initial reaction and you're like, oh, the dust is settled and I can just be this person, I can just be me in this world, how beautiful is that? It's like this feeling of, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. So if you are like me and you have that one random person from high school in the back of your head who is holding you back from doing the things that you want to do. And to be clear, this is not, I don't necessarily have one specific person in mind. I think of various random people. Not that it matters, but if you're like, I don't have one random person, it doesn't matter. It can be anybody. But if you have this thought of, what if this person or that person or this group of people saw this, I would encourage you to really sit with that, allow the discomfort to come over you, recognize that it's a very human, normal reaction, but that it's also not one that you want to let control your life. decide to move forward in alignment, in a way that feels authentic to you, in a way that you are proud of, and try to come to a place of peace with whatever this person thinks of me. I don't have any control over it, and I'm at peace because I know that I am doing what I came here to do. And I also just want to reiterate that you don't have to be at some successful end post in order to put this out there. That's what we want, right? We want to put this out there once we're successful. But even if you are figuring it out, even if you are taking all of these like left and right turns and flops and missteps, it doesn't matter. If you feel proud of the fact that you have the courage to try something different, to step outside of your comfort zone in pursuit of a life that is more in line with your soul, then that is all that matters. And your soul knows the way. It always does. And I think this year in particular, this past year for me, is such proof of that. It was so hard, but the reason I downloaded TikTok in the first place was to get like interior design inspiration. I didn't have a TikTok before last year, and I downloaded it to get interior design inspiration. And one of the first videos that I saw was someone giving a channeled message. And there was just this recognition somewhere in my brain that like, oh, I need to pay attention to this. And I didn't think I would be the person giving channeled messages, but I just kept paying attention to this feeling in my gut that kept saying, this is showing up for a reason. And I followed one thread and then another and ended up here, which is incredible. And again, there were lots of missteps along the way. If you listen to this podcast regularly, you know that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that my intuition led me to such a beautiful journey when there was zero indication ahead of this journey that this is where I was going. So trust in yourself, trust in your soul, trust in your intuition, and know that, yes, other people will have opinions over what you are doing, and that is okay. That is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to me and being here with me. If you enjoyed this episode, you can share it with a friend, make it your Instagram story. And if you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. You can follow me on YouTube if you like to watch these instead. You can follow me on all the socials at Guided Soul Crystals. And for all your crystal needs, you can go to guidedsoulcrystals.com. Until next time, keep going. You are doing amazing, and I love you.